Prom night had arrived at Luna Crest High, one of the most elite schools in the city of Nova Prime, a futuristic Earth-like planet. The sky was glowing purple as twin moons floated above the skyline. Hover limos dropped off students one by one. Girls stepped out in shiny space fabric gowns that sparkled under floating chandeliers. Boys wore smart suits with digital patterns that changed colors with every step. Inside the grand hall, music drones flew in circles, playing soft beats that matched the mood. Artificial stars blinked from the ceiling, giving the room a dreamlike glow. Among the crowd walked Lyra, a quiet black girl who had joined the school only 3 weeks ago. Her gown was simple, stitched by hand with love and care. It didn't light up or change colors, but it was beautiful in its own way. Lyra walked slowly, trying not to draw attention. She wasn't here to show off. She just wanted to enjoy the night. But trouble started the moment she entered the ballroom. Standing near the entrance were 3 popular cheerleaders, Kara, Zia, and Mira. Known for their fashion, money, and power, they scanned the room for someone to mock, and when their eyes landed on Lyra, they didn't hide their laughter. "Wait, is that stitched by hand?" Kara said, loud enough for others to hear. "Are we in a museum?" Zia gasped dramatically. Maybe she time-traveled from the 1800s. Mira chuckled and added, or maybe she just can't afford real dresses. Other students nearby laughed. A few looked uncomfortable, but no one said anything. Lyra froze in place for a moment, but then calmly kept walking. Her eyes didn't meet anyone else's. Her shoulders stayed straight, but inside, her heart was heavy. She found a quiet corner near the refreshment table and poured herself a drink from the floating punch dispenser. She took a deep breath and looked around. Everyone seemed to be having fun except her. And then it got worse. As she turned to head back to her corner, Mira pretended to stumble toward her. At the last second, she stuck out her leg, tripping Lyra right in front of everyone. The glass slipped from Lyra's hand. Red punch splashed all over her handmade dress. Gasps echoed through the room. And then, laughter. Kara clapped her hands. "Oh no, now it really looks like garbage." Zia added, "Maybe it'll wash off, or maybe it'll just melt." People started whispering. Some students took out their wrist comms to record the moment. Lyra stayed on her knees for a second. Her hands were sticky, her dress ruined. The girls stared down at her, grinning like they had won something. A few students even whispered, "Why is she even here?" But Lyra didn't cry. She looked up slowly at the 3 girls. Her eyes were calm, but sharp. There was no fear in her face, no sadness, just something different, stronger. She stood up. She wiped the punch from her arm. Her voice was quiet, but cold. "You really shouldn't have done that," she said. The cheerleaders laughed again. "Oh, and what are you going to do about it?" Kara smirked. Lyra didn't answer. Instead, she took a deep breath, walked back to the corner of the hall, and sat down again, alone. She pulled out a small silver device from her purse. It looked like a communicator, but it was different, more advanced. Something no one else at the school had seen before. She tapped a few buttons, and a small green light blinked. In the crowd, no one noticed. But far above the city, in orbit, a signal blinked in a satellite dish attached to a dark space cruiser. A soldier in uniform turned to the main screen. "Commander," he said. "Signal received. She's been activated." Back at the prom, Kara and her friends were still joking about Lyra, but in another corner of the room, a boy named Juno, who wore thin cybernetic glasses, had been watching everything. He had scanned Lyra's communicator. It wasn't from Earth. "Who are you?" he whispered to himself, adjusting his glasses. Suddenly, Juno saw something move in the window. A dark figure in a long coat was watching from outside the glass. Not a parent, not a student, and definitely not part of school staff. The music in the ballroom continued, but the atmosphere had changed. The laughter from the cheerleaders echoed, but it felt distant, like an annoying noise in the background of something much bigger. Lyra remained seated in her corner, still calm despite the humiliation. Her dress was ruined, but she didn't care. What mattered was something far more important. The man in the long coat, still standing outside, wasn't just anyone. He was part of something that Lyra had kept secret. Her father's work. The same father who had told her to stay hidden, to blend in. He never wanted her to stand out. But sometimes, people didn't let you stay invisible. As the night carried on, Lyra's eyes kept flicking to the door. She felt the presence of the man growing stronger. His steps were quiet, like he was moving through the shadows. But there was a purpose in his movements. He wasn't here for a dance. He was here for something far more serious. The door to the ballroom opened with a soft whoosh, and a figure stepped in. The lights in the hall flickered for a moment, casting shadows across the room. For a split second, everyone stopped talking. The atmosphere shifted. It was as if the room had become aware of something larger than just a prom night. The man was tall and wore a dark coat with a silver emblem on the collar that no one recognized. His eyes, hidden under the shadows of his hood, scanned the room, landing on Lyra for just a moment. She didn't look away. She didn't even blink. He was exactly who she thought he was. The principal, Mr. Dev, hurried over to the man with a nervous smile. "Can I help you, sir?" His voice was shaky, and it was clear that he didn't know who this person was or why he was here. Without saying a word, the man raised a hand and signaled for him to be silent. He walked past the principal as if he didn't matter. His gaze shifted to the crowd of students, who were still whispering about Lyra. The cheerleaders, still giggling about the scene, paused when they noticed the man's cold eyes scanning the room. They stopped talking immediately. Something about his presence made them feel small. The man finally stopped in the center of the room. His voice was deep and commanding when he spoke. "I am Commander Kale of the United Star Command," he said, his voice echoing through the hall. "And I am here for the daughter of General Kale." The room went silent. Lyra's heart skipped a beat, but she remained seated. She had expected this moment, yet the coldness of his words hit her harder than she thought it would. Students glanced at each other, unsure of what they had just heard. Kara, Zia, and Mira exchanged confused looks. They had no idea who Commander Kale was, but they could feel the tension building. The other students, however, looked at each other with a mix of fear and curiosity. "General Kale," Mr. Dev stuttered. "The general? You mean, the general?" He couldn't hide his shock. Everyone knew the stories about the general. His name was known across galaxies. He had helped defeat the alien invaders that once threatened Earth. And he had helped form the United Star Command, which now oversaw planets all across the galaxy. Commander Kale turned his gaze back to Lyra, who was still sitting quietly in her corner. He didn't move toward her. Instead, he raised his wrist, pressing a button that caused the hologram to appear in the air. The hologram flickered to life, showing a map of the stars and Earth's defenses. The general's face appeared on the map, a strong figure with a stern expression. "The daughter of General Kale is here," Commander Kale said. "She's the one who has inherited his legacy, his mission." He paused, looking directly at Lyra. "She is Lyra Kale." Lyra stood up slowly, her eyes not leaving the commander's. She could feel the weight of the room's attention on her, but it didn't matter. She had already been exposed. The truth was out. The cheerleaders, still processing what was happening, took a step back. Kara's eyes widened as she whispered to Zia, "Wait, she's the daughter of General Kale?" "The General Kale?" Zia repeated, her voice barely audible. "We mocked her. We made fun of her dress. She's him." Lyra took a deep breath. She looked directly at Kara, who was still frozen in shock. Then, without saying a word, Lyra turned and walked past the cheerleaders, brushing them aside. As she passed, she glanced at the principal. "You were quick to judge me too, Mr. Dev," she said softly. "You never thought to check who I am. You didn't even care to ask." Principal Dev swallowed hard, suddenly realizing his mistake. But it was too late. Commander Kale stepped forward, his voice firm. "Lyra, you've shown great strength in how you handled this. And now, it's time for you to come with me." The cheerleaders stared in stunned silence. Kara's face turned pale as she whispered, "She's really the daughter of General Kale." But as Commander Kale walked toward Lyra, the air outside seemed to change. Lyra knew this was only the beginning. Whatever had started that night wasn't going to end at this prom. The tension in the ballroom was thick as the guests watched Lyra and Commander Keel make their way toward the exit. Every step Lyra took felt like the ground beneath her was shaking. She could sense the eyes of the students on her, full of curiosity, confusion, and even fear. No one had expected this. No one had even suspected that a simple prom night would turn into a scene from a sci-fi thriller. As Lyra walked past the stunned cheerleaders, she could hear their whispers. Kara, now realizing her mistake, was trying to apologize, but was drowned out by the murmurs of the crowd. We didn't know. We had no idea. Kara's voice trembled. Lyra's mind was focused on one thing: her father, General Kale. Her father's name carried weight across the universe. He had been part of some of the most important battles in Earth's history. Yet, he was also a man who had spent years trying to keep her hidden from the world. He had wanted her to live a normal life, to be safe from the enemies who had once targeted him. But now, everything had changed. Commander Kale opened the doors of the ballroom, and the cool night air hit Lyra's face like a slap. She was no longer just a teenager at a high school prom. She was the daughter of a legendary military leader, and her life was about to take a turn she hadn't been ready for. The lights outside flickered as a sleek, black hovercraft hovered just beyond the gates of the country club. The craft looked out of place in the ordinary world of high school prom-goers, its smooth, metallic surface gleaming in the moonlight. It was a ship made for warriors, not for students. "Come," Commander Kale said firmly. "Your father's waiting." Lyra hesitated for a moment, her heart pounding in her chest. The prom night that had started as a night of celebration was now a memory, one that would haunt her for years. She looked back at the ballroom one last time, the image of the stunned students and the broken cheerleaders forever etched in her mind. With a deep breath, Lyra stepped forward. Commander Kale followed, his presence unwavering, like a shadow that couldn't be ignored. As they approached the hovercraft, a figure stepped out from the shadows. It was a woman, tall and imposing, wearing a uniform with the same emblem as Commander Kale's. Her face was strong, but there was something familiar about her. Lyra's breath caught in her throat when the woman removed her helmet. The woman's face was strikingly similar to her own. "Mother," Lyra whispered under her breath. The woman smiled warmly, her eyes filled with a mixture of pride and sadness. "You're finally here, Lyra," her mother said softly. "It's time to stop running." Lyra felt a rush of emotions: anger, confusion, fear, but also an overwhelming sense of longing. She had never known her mother in the way that most children knew theirs. Her mother had been a part of the Star Command, away on missions, always too far for Lyra to reach. But now, here she was, in front of her. "Your father's been waiting for this moment," the woman continued, her voice filled with authority. "He's been training you for something bigger than yourself. You're not just his daughter, you're part of something greater, a legacy that has been passed down through generations." Lyra's heart raced. "I don't understand," she said, her voice trembling. "I've lived my whole life as a normal teenager. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't Dad tell me what I was supposed to do?" Her mother's expression softened. "Because we wanted to protect you. The world you're stepping into is dangerous. There are enemies, Lyra, powerful ones who have been hunting your father for years. But now, they'll be hunting you too." Lyra felt a chill run down her spine. The weight of the situation was sinking in. She wasn't just a student who had been humiliated at prom. She wasn't just a girl who had been laughed at by a group of cheerleaders. She was part of a mission that her father had started long ago. Commander Keel stood beside her, silent but present. He was a reminder of the world she was now entering, one that she couldn't escape, one that was full of danger, but also purpose. "Your father will explain everything," her mother said, "but you must be ready. There is no turning back now. The enemies who have been hunting us will not stop." As the hovercraft doors opened, Lyra took a deep breath. There was no going back to the life she once knew. No more high school dances, no more simple days as a teenager. She was about to embark on something far greater than she could ever have imagined. Her mother reached out a hand. "Come, your father's waiting." With one final look at the world she was leaving behind, Lyra stepped into the hovercraft. It was time to face the truth of who she really was, and who her father had prepared her to become. The doors of the hovercraft slid shut with a soft, metallic hiss. The sleek craft lifted off the ground with barely a sound, the city lights shrinking below them as they soared into the night sky. Lyra sat in the plush seat, still processing everything that had happened. She could feel the vibrations of the engines beneath her feet, the hum of the hovercraft's advanced technology, making the moment feel surreal. Her mother sat across from her, her face stoic, but with a glimmer of pride in her eyes. Commander Keel remained at the controls, his focus on navigating the craft through the quiet, starlit sky. Lyra's mind was racing. The prom, her humiliation, now felt like a lifetime ago. It was hard to believe that just hours ago, she had been in a high school gymnasium, dressed in a sparkly gown, laughing with friends and dancing under colorful lights. Now, here she was on a spacecraft hurtling through the night, heading toward a life she had never imagined. You're probably wondering why we never told you the truth, her mother began, breaking the silence. Lyra turned her eyes to her mother, nodding. I don't even know what to think anymore. One minute I'm just a regular teenager, and the next, I'm supposed to be part of some huge mission. Her mother's gaze softened. Yes and no. The truth is, Lyra, your father and I kept you away from this life to protect you. We hoped you'd be safe from the enemies who've been after us for years. But now, the time has come. You've reached an age where you'll need to understand the legacy you're part of. Your father is one of the most skilled military commanders in the galaxy, but you have something special. Lyra's heart raced at the words. What do you mean, something special? Her mother smiled faintly. You inherited abilities we've been training you for. The training wasn't just for combat skills or strategy. You were born with an innate connection to the stars, Lyra. Something that can't be taught, only nurtured. Your father and I knew this day would come. The day when you'd have to choose whether to embrace your destiny or turn away. Lyra felt a strange mix of fear and curiosity. I don't want to fight anyone. I just wanted to finish school. I don't know what this all means. Her mother leaned forward, her eyes intense. It's not just about fighting, Lyra. It's about protecting what matters. Your father built alliances across planets, fought wars that no one even remembers, but the enemies never stopped coming. They've targeted our family because of what we stand for, unity, strength, and a legacy of freedom. And now, they know you're of age. They'll come for you, whether you're ready or not. Lyra's breath caught in her throat. I'm not ready for any of this. I don't know how to fight or protect anything. Her mother's voice softened. And you don't need to be ready right now. But we've been preparing you your whole life, Lyra. The world you grew up in was only part of the picture. Your training, your instincts, are sharper than you realize. Commander Kale finally turned from the controls, meeting Lyra's eyes in the rearview mirror of the cockpit. You've always had it in you, Lyra. The power to influence, the power to lead. What happened at that prom? It was only a small taste of the challenges ahead. The universe is vast, and there are those who would see it torn apart for their own gain. Your role in all of this is bigger than any of us can fully explain right now. Lyra swallowed hard. She could still see the image of the cheerleaders laughing at her in the gym, the whispering, the way they had looked at her as if she didn't belong. But now, she understood it all differently. She wasn't just some girl at a school dance. She was someone who could change the course of events, someone who could lead. The weight of that realization was almost too much to bear. Where are we going? Lyra asked quietly, her voice trembling with the fear of what lay ahead. Her mother gave a small, knowing smile. We're going to the one place you can truly learn who you are. It's time to meet your father and prepare for what's coming next. The hovercraft began to descend slowly, the atmosphere around them thickening with a strange energy. Lyra gazed out the window, seeing nothing but stars stretching in all directions. She felt small in this vast universe, but at the same time, there was something growing inside her, a flicker of strength, a pull toward a future she couldn't yet understand, but knew she had to face. The craft landed softly on a hidden platform, and her mother rose from her seat. Get ready, Lyra. Your father is waiting. Lyra hesitated for a moment, looking at her mother and Commander Kale. both of whom had been preparing for this moment for so long. They had planned, trained, and sacrificed everything for this. And now it was her turn. As she stepped out of the craft and into the unknown, a new chapter of her life began. The air was colder than Lyra had expected, the chill biting through her clothes as she stepped onto the platform. The stars above were so bright, they almost seemed within reach, like diamonds scattered across black velvet. She took a deep breath, her heart pounding in her chest. The hovercraft had landed in a hidden, secure location, a vast compound nestled deep within a mountain range, far away from the prying eyes of the city. Her mother led the way, her steps purposeful, as if she had walked this path 1,000 times. Commander Kale followed closely behind them, his eyes scanning the area, always alert. Lyra couldn't help but feel the weight of what was happening, the training, the secrets, the legacy. She had no idea what was coming, but something told her it was going to change everything. "Where are we going?" Lyra asked again, her voice small but filled with determination. Her mother glanced back, her face serious. "We're going to meet your father. He's been waiting for you. It's time for you to understand what's at stake and what you're truly capable of." As they walked deeper into the compound, the sound of their footsteps echoed in the quiet, empty hallways. The walls were lined with advanced technology and military equipment, things Lyra had never seen before. Yet somehow, they felt familiar, like she had always known they were there. Finally, they reached a large, reinforced door. It opened silently as they approached, revealing a dimly lit room beyond. Inside, standing at the far end, was a tall, imposing man in military uniform. His face was stern, but his eyes, when they met hers, softened slightly. Lyra's breath caught in her throat. There was no mistaking who this man was, her father. He stepped forward, his boots clicking against the metal floor. "Lyra," he said, his voice deep and commanding. "I've been waiting for you." Lyra stood frozen for a moment, unsure of what to say. This was the man who had been a ghost in her life, always present in the background, but never truly a part of it. And now, here he was, standing before her, a stranger and yet not. She could see the strength in him, the same strength she had always felt inside her, but had never fully understood. Her mother stepped forward, standing beside her father. "Lyra, this is your father, General Darius Voss. He's been protecting the galaxy for decades. Now, it's your turn." Lyra swallowed hard, the reality of what was happening finally settling in. "I don't know if I can do this. I don't know anything about this life, this legacy." Her father smiled faintly, but there was no humor in his eyes. "None of us do at first, but we adapt. We fight, and we protect what's ours." He motioned for her to follow him as he walked toward a large console. On it, a map of the galaxy appeared, highlighted with dozens of flashing red dots. "These are the enemies we've been tracking. They've been planning something big, something that could destroy everything we've worked for. And you, Lyra, are the key to stopping them." Lyra stepped closer, staring at the map. The red dots were scattered across planets she had never heard of, each one pulsing with danger. But what truly caught her attention were the coordinates that blinked near the center of the galaxy. Those weren't just random dots. They were coordinates for a location that Lyra didn't recognize but felt drawn to. "Where is that?" she asked, pointing to the blinking dot. Her father's expression darkened. "That's where we need to go. But it's heavily guarded. If we don't act soon, they will move forward with their plans, and everything we fought for will be lost." Lyra's heart raced. This was it, the moment when everything changed. She had spent her life unaware of the truth, and now, she was part of a battle that spanned across galaxies. Her father had been right all along. She had something special, something that could make a difference. But she didn't feel ready. She didn't feel strong enough to take on the responsibility of a galaxy. Her father turned to her, his gaze steady. "Lyra, you have abilities no one else does. You've always known it, even if you didn't understand it. It's time to trust yourself. Time to stop running from who you are." Lyra took a deep breath, her mind racing. She thought back to the moments at prom, to the feeling of being laughed at, of being underestimated. She had felt small then, but now, standing here with her father, She understood that her true strength wasn't in avoiding the fight, it was in embracing it. "I'm ready," Lyra said, her voice filled with conviction. Her father nodded, his expression softening just slightly. "Good. Then let's begin." Commander Kale moved toward the console, entering the coordinates into the system. The map shifted, zooming in on the target. "We'll need to move quickly. They'll know we're coming, but we have the element of surprise." Lyra looked at her father, then at her mother, who gave her a proud, reassuring smile. This was the moment when everything came together: the training, the legacy, the destiny she had been born into. It was all leading to this, and Lyra was ready to fight for it. The spaceship hummed beneath Lyra's feet as it cut through the darkness of space. Outside the viewport, the stars were mere pinpricks of light, scattered across the vast nothingness. The destination was close now, the coordinates her father had given her, and the place where their greatest battle awaited. Lyra sat in a seat near the back of the ship, staring out at the endless expanse. She could feel the weight of her responsibility pressing down on her shoulders, but she no longer felt afraid. The training, the mission, the legacy, everything had led to this moment. It wasn't just her father's fight anymore, it was hers too. Commander Kale walked past, offering her a quick nod before heading to the cockpit. His calm demeanor was reassuring. He had seen battles before, but he had also seen potential in her. In Lyra, he saw the future. Her mother, seated beside her, glanced over. "Are you ready, Lyra?" The question seemed simple, but Lyra knew it was more than that. Her mother had seen the doubt in her eyes earlier, but now, all Lyra felt was clarity. She had embraced who she was. There was no turning back. She was ready to face whatever came their way. "I'm ready," she said, her voice steady. Her mother smiled warmly, reaching over to squeeze her hand. "I'm proud of you. Just remember, you're not alone in this." The ship's engines roared as they began their final descent toward the planet. The coordinates on the console blinked, guiding them to a location deep within the enemy's territory. Lyra could feel the tension in the air, the anticipation building. As they landed in the enemy's stronghold, a thick fog rolled across the barren landscape. The planet's surface was cracked, the land scarred by centuries of warfare. This was where their enemies, the ones who sought to destroy everything, had made their stand. Lyra stood at the entrance of the ship, her hand on the hilt of her blade. The time for hesitation had passed. They were here to end this. Her father stepped forward, his face set in determination. "We can't afford to lose. Everything we fought for, everything we've built, depends on us succeeding here." Commander Kale joined them, his voice low and steady. "We're not alone. We have reinforcements in position. The enemy's forces won't be able to stop us." Lyra took a deep breath, glancing at her mother, who gave her a look that said everything. She was ready, and she wouldn't back down. They moved as a unit, stepping out into the foggy, desolate world. The sound of their footsteps echoed in the stillness, each one a reminder of the stakes. They had to get to the central command station, a heavily fortified structure that held the key to stopping the enemy's plans. As they advanced, the ground trembled beneath them. Lyra could feel the energy building, and for a moment, she thought it was just her nerves. But no, it was something else, something more dangerous. Suddenly, the air crackled with energy. The enemy had detected their presence. Without warning, armed soldiers appeared from the shadows, aiming their weapons at them. Her father's voice cut through the tension. "Stay focused. We push forward, no matter what." The battle erupted. Lyra's heart raced as she engaged in the fight. The first soldier she faced was quick, but Lyra was faster. Her blade sliced through the air, disarming him in a single fluid motion. She moved with precision, her body reacting before her mind had the chance to catch up. Every step, every movement felt like it was part of her, like she had been born for this moment. But this wasn't just a fight against soldiers. This was a fight against the darkness itself. She saw it in their eyes, the enemy's resolve, their cruelty. They would stop at nothing to bring their vision of the galaxy to life. But Lyra refused to let that happen. Her father was already ahead, taking down enemies left and right, his strength and experience evident. Commander Kale was beside him, moving like a shadow, his weapons quick and silent. They were a well-oiled machine, but Lyra knew this wasn't the end. Not yet. They reached the command center, the heart of the enemy's operation. It was a massive steel structure, guarded by a force of elite soldiers. The doors were reinforced, but Lyra's father stepped forward, activating his security clearance. The doors opened with a soft hiss, and they entered. Inside, the main control room was filled with high-tech equipment, glowing screens displaying images of galaxies, ships, and tactical data. A figure stood at the center of it all, a tall man cloaked in shadows. His face was hidden, but his presence was unmistakable. This was the leader, the one responsible for the chaos and destruction. "Welcome," the man said, his voice cold. "I've been expecting you." Lyra's father stepped forward, his voice firm. "This ends now." The man laughed, a deep, chilling sound. "You think you can stop me? You're too late." Lyra felt the pull of her destiny. This was it, the moment she had been training for, the moment she had been born into. With a fierce determination, she stepped forward, her blade glowing with energy. She wasn't afraid anymore. She was ready. The final battle had begun.